Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After a long winter, better weather is finally here, which means it's time to get out underwater foraging. Some good conditions are around, some clear, warmer water in the shallows. See what we can find. It's the middle of April, but we got some pretty lovely conditions. A little bit windier than they said, but it should be pretty flat out to sea. Plan is just to hop along the coast. Mission is just to try and catch something. We will look for bass, we will look for plaice, mullet, might even drop on a couple of pinnacles for pollock. Hopefully the conditions are good out there. I'm very excited for the first trip of the year. Good hood at this time of year that goes right around your mask. Absolute game changer, otherwise you freeze. Trusty start points in their third year of service. I love these fins. Light as a feather and so springy. What's our depth here?
13.7.
13.
Basically 14.
My first dive in quite a few months is down to a kelpie reef in about 10 metres, where I've often seen bass cruising about early season. Today though, you can see with the kelp bowing its head against the tide, it's really running through here, and I'm probably only going to find fish in the pressure points. Nothing seen here, but all the same, a lovely warm-up dive and great to be back in the water. Nice, quite strong tide. Yeah, didn't see anything. This is fine. This is good.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, this is good. Second spot, a few hundred meters down the coast. Let's see what we can find. Jumping in at the second spot, the boat is anchored about 100 meters offshore. I work my way inshore, looking down through the gaps in between the boulders, looking into the kelp to try and find some bass. I often find that diving in and sneaking through these caves is a great way to try and ambush bass as they mill about in the gaps between these large boulders. As I come right into the shallows where the sun is sparkling down onto the kelp, something catches my eye just to the left of this boulder. Hardly daring to breathe, I inch forward really slowly. Well, it just goes to show how switching up from the deeper water into the shallows can really pay off. Saw plenty of bass in there. This one was taken from about 3 or 4 meters, and it's a lovely kind of oven baking size. So yeah, it's it's looking really good start to the season. Spider crabs are in, plenty of bass. maybe we should turn a bit of that into ceviche in a minute and then go and look for some plaice or some mullet. It's a beautiful day and we still have a few hours on the water. Right, that should be a lovely piece of fish. Yeah, make a hole, put your finger in there, and then give a handle. We got some very, very happy seagulls. Try a bit raw. It's very tough raw. Tastes fine, but the lime juice is actually gonna break the proteins down and cook it hopefully. So here we go. Great, isn't it?
That is delicious.
So we're at our third mark of the day and we've anchored up on a lovely sandy patch which is on the edge of a reef, so a kind of weed line. We're going to look along this weed line to see if there's any plaice or possibly flounder or any other flatfish species. I descend down here onto what I would call typical plaice ground. You can't quite make it out in the camera here, but there are very small mollusks on the sand. If you look over to the left in just a moment, you'll see the edge of the reef, what I would call a weed line. Any plaice coming inshore will naturally stop here due to the rocks of the reef and kelp building up. And here's an example of a plaice that's done just that. Always remember to put the stringer through your fish before you take it off the spear, otherwise you might end up with some disappointment. So in 4 dives I've managed 2 beautiful plaice. They're still a bit thin because it's only April. In about 6 weeks they'll be that much thicker, but my daughter loves them, so I'm happy to have 2 for the oven. Perfect amount for the family. Definitely not going to take any more. There are plenty there, but they do need to fatten up a bit. But it's nice to know they are around, and yeah, just getting back into that zone of gliding above the bottom and looking for the outline on the bottom. When it's a sunny day like this for plaice hunting, a great tip is when you go down, look around towards the sun and you'll get a much better cone of visibility and you can swim in that direction slowly. Have an hour or 2 left, so we might go and see if we can find any mullet. Our third character potentially of the day. A few fin strokes away from the boat towards the cliffs, I see this cuttlefish just lurking below me. I'm always amazed to see how much ink these cuttlefish give off as a defence against predators, but on this occasion, a quick knife in between the eyes puts him out of his misery, and some delicious cuttlefish is landed. Making my way into the shallows, I'm almost having to drag myself over these rocks here. The temperature on my watch is almost up to 13 degrees in the shallows here. The sun has been on the rocks all day, and I know that bass and mullet absolutely love this. After about 20 minutes of swimming around, I see this beautiful bass creeping around the rocks here, trying to ambush his prey. It's a really bad shot, so I'm very, very careful bringing this bass in, not putting any pressure on the spear, waiting until I can make a good firm grab on the tail, and the bass is secured. So after catching the cuttle, the GoPro batteries actually ended for the day, but we called it a day, came into shore, and it was really nice to spend the day going back to some old familiar spots and seeing all of the wildlife doing exactly as we would have expected. Many people have asked how I actually care for my wetsuits and everything after a dive. Well, I fill a big bucket like this with water, camera lady, and just rinse it all free. Make sure all the sand and sweat and rubbish has come off it, and then I just drape this on the back of a chair or something. If you don't have a hose, you could do it in the bath, something like that. But anyway, thank you for watching, and until the next video.